Greetings, kindred. Wow, I can feel the energies lifting now. They've been pretty heavy, especially since the 18th of June. I mean, going through the eclipses and then Pluto shifting back a degree. You know, it was really a heavy, dense energy. But I think, Pluto's beginning to settle into his retrograde degree of 29. And it was gonna be deep anyway, because 29 adds up to 11. 11 is a mastering number. It's a number of awareness, higher awareness. So I do feel, in the long run, it's a positive shift. But I think many were left feeling kind of physically exhausted. So the last time Pluto was at 29 degrees was in February of this year. So I think if we look back to February and see what was going on in our lives back then, what was going on globally, then we'll get some idea of what's being reviewed at the moment. So we have a full moon coming up tomorrow. I'm recording this on the 23rd. And the full moon will reach its peak in Sagittarius in the true lifetime sky at 19:39 in the GMT time zone, at 2:39 in the EDT time zone, and on the 25th of June at 4:39 in the AEDT time zone. So the moon's going to be at 7 degrees in Sagittarius. The moon in Sagittarius is all about adventure, independence, getting out there and just feeling the vibes. And, the good thing is here we got the moon at 7 degrees. I mean, 7 is the number of the moon. And I've only really started to take the planets and the numbers into consideration, or the connection between the planets and the numbers, because where I've been using 13 Star Sign Astrology, and I know there has been a shift there, I didn't really know if maybe it was the same in numerology. But 7 is apparently the number of the moon. So 7 is, a spiritual number in numerology. Like we said, like I've said before, Sagittarius, when he breaks through the boundaries of his narrow-mindedness when it comes to religion, when it comes to philosophy, when he breaks through that barrier, he becomes a lot more open to different philosophies, different religions, different cultures. That's where he starts to expand. And, we'll get a little bit more into that in a minute. So the moon at 7 degrees, that is really a beautiful energy. It's the moon's energy in a positive sense. Not so much following our instincts, but getting more in touch with our spiritual natures, But, 7 is the number of still revolution, liberation. It's a freedom-seeking number. And Sagittarius is a freedom-seeking star sign. It's a truth seeker. So the moon will be in opposition with our sun, who will be at 3 degrees in Gemini. Now 3 is the number of Jupiter. So, Gemini is about broadening the mind, inventiveness. Although Gemini is the ruler of the 4th house, not the 3rd. It's a sign of it's very technological. And, in this day and age, we find that our homes are more based on technology. We communicate through technology. So the moon originally ruled the 4th house when we were in the age of Aries. But now we're in the age of Pisces right now. Well, we're coming towards the end of that age. And we are actually in the aura of Aquarius. But the moon now is the ruler of the 5th house, which is all about creativity, children. Cooking and caring and, being that home person. It's really not a thing in this day and age. It's really more of a luxury now. So, at 3 degrees, this is also the number of astrology and numerology. It's the trilogy. This is about consciousness, intelligence. Again, self-expansion. So the moon and the sun are really in positive positions and are in pretty positive signs. Sagittarius is a fire sign, but it's mutable. Gemini is an air sign, but it's mutable. So I do feel there's a lot of conversations and a lot of getting into things, getting into how things work or the mechanics, but more on a spiritual level, not so much on a scientific one. Well, actually not on a scientific one at all right now. This is really all based on the spiritual. Whatever our belief structures are, tapping into that higher consciousness, that the divine, the creator of all. And however we reach that level of consciousness is really down to our own belief systems. So, our sun and moon are making a T-square towards Neptune. And Neptune is at 1 degree in Pisces, his own sign. He entered into Pisces in April, but he's stayed at 1 degree. Now Neptune will go into retrograde tomorrow, and I'll get into that in a little while. But Neptune in his own sign, that is all about visions, art, creativity. It's all about oneness with the divine. It's the recognition of holiness. And holiness really is wholeness within ourselves. And recognizing we are all one consciousness. Or we are connected to one consciousness, which is the divine, the creator of all. But if we're not on that level, if we don't have that belief, if we don't have self-belief, if we don't have something that we have faith in, that is something that is unseen, then we can get trapped into our fears or our insecurities. And it's really hard to stay positive all of the time. We all have to have those negative moments. We all have to, do some deep reflection. And we've definitely been doing that over the lunar and solar eclipse. And I think with Pluto shifting backwards, wow, that energy was definitely felt. So we're coming out of that, even though it's still lingering. We are actually coming out of that. We're actually breaking out of that. Or many of us are right now. So, Neptune at 1 degree. 1 is the symbol of the sun. 1 is a positive number. It radiates the positive energy of the sun. And that's all about being positive and bold and confident. And it's also about wisdom, especially with Neptune there. So even though Neptune can lead us astray, can lead us into addictions if we're not whole in ourselves, at the end of it, we do learn wisdom. We do take wisdom from that. I've met a lot of people in my life that have addiction. And they do get to that certain point that regardless of their addictions, they come into this wisdom because they've really had to take a good hard look at their life at times. Even though they don't want to see it initially, over a period of time, they do start to reflect. So with Pallas in the picture, which is conjunct Neptune, although Pallas is at 5 degrees, again that's a shift in our recognition, a shift in recognising patterns. And with the Sun and Moon with a T-square towards Neptune, that is definitely forcing us into some kind of recognition, and it's more based on our spiritual values. The only thing is Vesta, who is opposite the T-square formation, in Leo at 32 degrees, we mustn't lose hope. Because when Pluto makes a big shift, especially in Sagittarius, sometimes it can bring in a feeling of like hopelessness. So, keep working on ourselves. If we're in that position, we have to keep working on ourselves, keep feeding our inner temple with all the good stuff. So I would definitely say praying, chanting, just expressing ourselves to the universe. This goes beyond this world. This energy is beyond this world. So the good thing is as well is our moon will also be in sextile to Jupiter. This is like bringing the moon and the sun in harmony. I mean, Jupiter at the moment is at 4 degrees retrograde in Aquarius. And, I feel that's pretty positive. It's pretty stable. I mean, Jupiter actually looks like the number 4. Or as Howard Conti would say, it looks like the number 24. But it also looks like the number 4. So I just feel there's a lot more stability in our belief structures, or maybe we are reflecting on them and feeling more in touch with them. Because I think many of us have been pretty numb now for quite a while. It's like science has taken over. But it's like the spirituality, the spiritual side of life seems to be coming back now. I mean, we do have a kite formation with the goddess Juno conjunct the South Node in Ophiuchus, trine Mars, who's in Cancer at the moment, trine Chiron, who's still in Pisces at the moment. So this is water and ether. Ophiuchus's element is ether. But Cancer and Pisces obviously are water signs. So, it's still kind of an emotional time, but because it's in this grand trine within the kite, this is like, releasing emotion with ease, but releasing it in a higher consciousness level. And, at top of the kite is Saturn. And Saturn's in a good position at the moment in his retrograde through his own sign of Capricorn. I mean, he's at 13 degrees, and 13 is the number of a new cycle. So, and 13 is a new cycle in the physical world, in 13 Star Sign Astrology as well. The 13th house is the last house before we birth back into the first house. So this is more a physical rebirth. So this is happening in our material world. If it was happening in the 10th house, I would say it was happening in our spiritual world, or our educational world, self-education. But, when we're being born from the 10th house into the 11th, That is more of a spiritual rebirth, but this is the spiritual being birthed back into the physical. And, that's a beautiful thing. Especially since Saturn is in sextile to both Juno and the South Node, and in sextile to Chiron. So, the opportunities we can take from this is like a lot of healing over past issues, mostly to do with relationships or commitments of the past. Healing those wounds of the past. The only thing is Mars, throughout the kite, Mars is in actually opposition to Saturn in retrograde. So, this is like a push-pull energy, but Saturn's in retrograde, so Saturn's in reflection. Whereas Mars is in direct mode. Mars does not go into retrograde this year. So, he's quite in his power, but he's in a water sign, so he's not as strong or as fierce as he would normally be, although he is at 10 degrees. And like I said, 10 is spiritual. So Mars is fighting for his spiritual rebirth, where Saturn's saying, no, this cycle's got to begin in the physical. Because, this is really all about changing our way of thinking, changing our perceptions of what's going on in the world right now. But Mars in trine to Chiron, it's a gift for speaking up. It gives us the confidence to confront issues. But it is, all about spiritual willpower. This is a very healing kite that's going on. But, there is a resistance there for some. Although others will embrace it. Those that are very connected to their spirituality will embrace this energy. And what I'm seeing here is the tables have now turned. So over the last year I've been seeing a lot of aspects that really help a certain sector of people. And these are people at the top. And the planetary vibrations have been very much in their favour. But I see the tables turning now. I see this solar and lunar eclipse has helped the tables to turn. And with Pluto shifting back on the 18th of June. Either I'm behind myself or ahead of myself. I really can't get to grip on the present right now. It's a big turnaround. But we still have a way to go. But also, the 5 energy is kind of subsiding now as the 6 energy. And I'm talking about the universal year energy as the 6 energy is coming in. It's kind of stabilising the 5 energy. And like I said at the beginning of this year, 5 is the number of shifting, of change. It's also, though, a number of fraudery and plagiarism, and we've been seeing a lot of that on certain platforms. I've been seeing a lot of my metaphysical brothers and sisters out there, having their channels cloned and frauded. It's really escalated this year. But I think that will start to calm down now. And I think a lot of people have become pretty wise to that anyway. So yeah, I'm seeing a really beautiful energy for this full moon. But it's just the black moon Lilith. She's at 17 degrees. And she's conjunct the North Node. So I really do feel like, there's still a little bit of fear there. And it is about scarcity. But it's time to kind of shift out with that now. Because whatever's going to be is going to be. It's better to be in preparation. It's better to be in a stable place. Mentally and emotionally, we've got to stabilise ourselves. So we can see clearly, what's going to happen ahead. And, that's in our own individual lives or collectively, globally. But I'm just feeling, we can take a lot of positivity from this full moon's energy. So, what else I'm seeing is another T-square with the goddess Vesta in opposition to Neptune and square Mercury, who's just come out of retrograde. He came out of retrograde on the 22nd, but we're still going to be in post-shadow for at least another 2 weeks until he reaches the degree he started his retrograde mode at, and he's not there yet. At the moment he will be at 22 degrees, which is, a master number. So I really do think people are just getting their heads around things. They can see, that things are happening that are a little bit kind of pressuring right now. But, I just feel like there's a calling for a higher faith. And, we've got to follow our belief structures right now and not our logic or reasoning. Because I just feel there's a very detached energy between emotions and the mind. The mind and the heart are not quite in sync at the moment. And it might be hard to get our heads around things still. So really what our instincts are telling us is what we should be listening to, but on the concept of spirituality. And then we have Neptune will go retrograde on the 25th, like I said, so it'll be early evening here in the GMT time zone. And the good thing about Neptune going retrograde in his own sign is that we can detach. So I feel this feeling of detachment is kind of helping us right now. It's helping us to view things, although not clearly. We may not have a clear perception of what's going on in the world right now, but we do have a clear perception of what's going on within us. So I just feel there's so much healing going on right now. And this energy will also help us to heal like past karma, ancient karma. If we can sort of get in that place of being non-judgmental. If we're coming into that realization of wholeness, that we are all one, then it will help us to ascend or raise our vibration or head towards, a clearer vision of what we want for the future. But with Neptune going retrograde, I would say like there will be a need for sensitive people or empathic people to protect their aura. So I really do recommend meditations that protect the aura or strengthen the aura. So the kite with Neptune will still be in sequence, but there'll be another grand kite. So we're going to have 2 grand kites on the 25th of June as Neptune turns retrograde. And, it would be the goddess Vesta trine to Ceres and Uranus. And they will be in trine to the Moon and Pluto. Moon and Pluto will be in trine to Vesta. So at the top of this particular kite will sit Neptune. So as Neptune goes into retrograde, he'll be sitting right at the head of a kite. And he'll be in sextile to Pluto, which is a long-lasting aspect and has been going on for quite a while. And he'll also be in sextile to Uranus, who's in Aries at the moment. Neptune will be in opposition, though, to Goddess Vesta. We do have the ability to see beyond ourselves, to see the injustices in the world. There's definitely this raising of consciousness in people. And it's definitely, a realization of communities coming together, in brother sisterhood. It's important. We need to learn to work together. This is like people getting ready for this big change. There's a lot coming out at the moment. And the only way to really process it is to drop the fear. Get into your spiritual, sacred space. It's time to leave the ego where it's at. So this is another beautiful kite. So we're going to have two kites. Of course, there's highs and lows with that. And of course, we're all going to feel the energies a little bit differently. But it is all about us getting into our spiritual power and our sense of wholeness and come together collectively and globally in non-judgment. And I really do feel there is a big awakening or a big realization going on right now. And it's such a pleasant thing to see. So I'm going to leave it there, Kindred, and I just want to say thank you to all my subscribers on YouTube and all the people that have been following me for the last 8 years. And I don't say it enough, so I just want you to know I appreciate you all and thank you for your support. So as usual, I'm sending you all peace and much love.